What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bodacious Rant with your awesome host, Burn and Rye. Hope everybody's feeling the Christmas energy coming up, or whatever holiday you celebrate. Or if you don't, I just hope you all are having a good December so far. We're about halfway through the month, and it's been not a strong month for movies, especially with the basically award season, coming up, leading into the awards, essentially. We still have the rest of the month to finish off. We have Nosferatu. We have A Complete Unknown, another James Mangold music biopic about Bob Dylan this time. But we are talking about probably one of the movies that both Bern and I can say we definitely saw coming as soon as we saw the trailers. It was just going to be an absolute garbage film. And if you haven't guessed it already, we're talking about Sony's latest Spider-Man spinoff, Kraven the Hunter, starring Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Ariana DeBose, Russell Crowe, and again, a slew of other good actors. That's one thing I will say. The Sony movies usually have good casts for their movies. I'm not going to complain, but it's awful. Anyways, this is a non-spoiler review, so we're not going to really get into it. Definitely, even if we did, it wouldn't matter, but we're not going to. So if you do like the video, please give us the thumbs up, ring the bell to stay up to date for when we drop videos, and of course, subscribe. We do appreciate you all that have continued this journey with us for the last 4 years. It's been crazy we've been doing this for this long, so it's just fun. Anyways, so for those of you who aren't familiar with Spider-Man or anything like that, while this is a Spider-Man spinoff, there is no mention of Spider-Man whatsoever, so that's been the trend with all of Sony's movies, really. Like ones that aren't like Spider-Man related, like Morbius, Madam Web. Venom kind of did in Venom Let There Be Carnage in a post-credit scene, but that was basically it. That's all the mention of Spider-Man that there's been. So this one with Aaron Taylor-Johnson, he's Kraven. He has a very messed up father, very big criminal figure in the underworld. And he, due to that relationship growing up, his hard life, he becomes the greatest hunter in the world. And that's pretty much it, in Spider-Man's world, especially in Spider-Man 2, for those of you who played that game. He actually can be a really cool villain, as we saw in the video game. The cartoons growing up, I kind of remember him just being there. He did help Spider-Man out occasionally on a couple of those episodes, but other than that, it's just one of those characters that I would say is a bit of a deep cut to a certain extent. And yeah, this was just awful. Nothing really salvageable with it. I guess I will say I didn't mind some of the action scenes. I have no complaints on Aaron Taylor-Johnson necessarily. Everybody else, though, very serviceable, very by the numbers acting, writing in general. If you hate to say it, if you've seen Morbius or Madam Web or this one and haven't seen any of the other films, it's essentially the same story for all of them. So, spoiler alert for you all. But Bern, what's your opinion on this movie? What are your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, that last statement that you said rings so true, where it just feels so generic and paint by numbers. And really, again, you can take the script, change the names and you have Morbius, or change the names and you have Man and Web. And it's yeah, this is the formula that Sony has sort of stuck to with their live action spin-offs that no one asked for and no one really wants at this point, with the exception of probably Venom. And we keep on getting, and it seems like this is going to be the last one of those. We'll see. But yeah, in terms of it going out on a high note in any sort of way, yeah, that is not the case. This is just more of the same in terms of the lack of just inspiration, the lack of effort, the lack of any sort of vision for these movies other than just putting something out there to keep the rights for the Spider-Man property. Yeah, it's so uninspired. Everyone involved seems like they kind of knew that was the case, where this was just sort of like a paycheck gig for everyone. I mean, you have a director here in JC Candor, where it's yeah, he's done really good things in the past, and there are some moments where you can see that sort of leak through, but more often than not, throughout this movie, it doesn't feel like it has his sort of identity. It just feels like another generic Sony Pictures superhero film, and that's just across the board, from everyone. I know you said you didn't mind Aaron Taylor Johnson. And while I think he was okay, there really wasn't anything there in terms of his performance that made him stand out, I feel like. And it really, that goes for everyone. I feel like Ariana DeBose was really struggling to make that character interesting, and the plot really gave her nothing to do. And you can write her character out of the movie, and essentially it doesn't change, which is unfortunate. But yeah, it was just all across the board, just uninspired. Even like I know you enjoyed the action sequences, but to me there was nothing there character defining of those action sequences, which is surprising because at least some of the other movies did retain some of that, where it feels like, okay, they were made good use of this character and their powers, with Venom and his action scenes in his movies, and even the horrible movies with Morbius and Madam Web. They used his sort of like phasing ability in an interesting way, and they used her sort of foresight in an interesting way. Here is just he's a guy that's really good at killing people, and he sort of slides around like he's on ice skates sometimes. But other than that, like, they don't use like the idea of him being this great hunter, this great tracker in any sort of interesting way outside of maybe the first sequence, and even then that's a bit of a stretch. So yeah, there's really nothing good for me to say about this movie. It's just seemingly another one that they just kind of pushed out there for whatever reason, and it doesn't seem like they even expected it to be good in any sort of way.
Yeah, and for those of you who did happen to like this movie, not trying to be a jerk, no shame to you, but I will respectfully disagree and say this movie is absolute garbage. Just like Venom 3 is up there with it. It's definitely better. The Venom franchise is probably the only thing that's somewhat rewatchable throughout the Sony movies. And I'm not including the Spider-Verse. That's the only thing they'll actually put effort into or put real resources behind. And again, I'm not saying that any of the talent behind the camera, in front of the camera, are necessarily bad. But like Burns said, and I definitely agree with him, that this is just a movie that everybody's taking the paycheck. They don't care. They know it's probably not going to do well. It's just something to add on to the resume. Would you really want to, though? Probably not, especially if you're an actor. But hey, a gig's a gig. What are you going to do? So with all that being said, I'm giving this a hard 1 out of 5. I could give it a 0. I probably would, just like I would Morbius and Madam Web. But I think I gave that one a 2. I don't even remember, but that was also garbage. So yeah, do I recommend this? Not really, but if you did have to watch it, go sit on like a $5 Tuesday, or just wait till it's Rent and about the same price. So yeah, definitely not a movie for everybody.
Yeah, it's basically, it's one of those to wait till it comes on streaming that you can kind of half pay attention to it, while you're on your phone or doing something. Honestly, this movie doesn't really deserve people's like time of day or money. In that case, going out to the theaters and spending all that time to kind of get this, like, people deserve better. And I'm sure there's like a bunch of fans of Kraven out there, especially with his depiction in, like you mentioned, the Spider-Man 2 game that came out a year ago, 2 years ago. I'm not sure, but
last year.
Last year. This is far from that character, and it doesn't really feel like that identity has sort of kept through into this movie. And again, it just looks like, yeah, everyone just kind of took the money and put whatever was out there, because this thing feels hacked to pieces. And I don't know if people came into it with some really good idea for what this movie could be, or some inspiration, and that sort of got lost in the way. But yeah, this just feels like, either way, the end product here is just beyond disappointing, even for someone like me who had no expectations coming into it from the beginning. So yeah, it's a 1 out of 5 from me. Again, supposedly this is the last of the Sony Spider-Man universe. We'll see. Hopefully, in some form or fashion, they take the criticism from these movies and try to do something better. At least some effort would be better than any of these movies that we've gotten. So yeah, it's not a high bar to clear at all.
No, I mean, they've talked about when Venom 3 came out, or like a few months ago, that we're going to save Noah for other movies. It's like, why? What other movies could we possibly want at this point, after you guys have ended Venom on a bad note and given us all these crappy Spider-Man spinoffs? So yeah, that's all I really want to talk about with this one. For those of you who did happen to watch it, please let us know your thoughts. If you loved it, more power to you. Please give us your thoughts. But until next time, everyone, like I said, we're getting into the holiday season. Like, we're in it, but we're getting closer to Christmas and stuff. So Nosferatu is coming out. That's what I'm really excited for at this point. And until next time, everyone, stay bodacious and keep on ranting for us.
Absolutely, everybody. Be good, be safe, and as always, we'll catch y'all on the next one.